Hi, everyone, and welcome to Our Changing Planet. My name is Dr. Sue Cook, and I'm going to be your professor for this course. This first lecture is just meant to be a really brief introduction to some material that I like to cover on the first day of Our Changing Planet when I teach it face-to-face, just to make sure we're all starting from the same starting point. Let me just really quickly screen share my PowerPoint presentation with you guys, and we'll get started from there. Okay, hopefully you guys can all see this now. So at the beginning of Our Changing Planet, I always like to take a few minutes to talk to the students about a couple of things that I think we all need to agree on before we start the class. I always want to make it really clear that I am not interested in converting anybody into radical environmentalism. I do consider myself to be an environmentalist, but I think one of the most important messages I can get across to students is that you can care about the environment, you can be an environmentalist, and you can make choices that benefit the planet without radically changing the lifestyle that you have right now. Just a few small changes here and there can make a huge difference, and I hope that's something that you'll come out of this class understanding. But there are a couple things we do have to agree on. I understand we all may come from different backgrounds, and there may be a lot of things we don't agree on, but there's a couple things we have to start with in agreement. Okay, I have to insist that you agree with me on a couple of points. So to get started, just a couple things about our planet. The Earth is what we refer to as being mostly a self-sustaining closed system. Those terms are very important. A closed system is a system that runs without external input. What that really means when it comes to talking about life on Earth is that we don't mine other planets or our moon and bring raw materials to Earth and use them in our manufacturing processes or to produce energy. Everything we have to work with is what is already here. So a closed system runs without relying on external input. A self-sustaining closed system means that it continues to run on its own in what we will start to talk about as cycles. It doesn't require anything to keep it running. The end product starts the process over again. So it's self-sustaining. The Earth existed before humans were here, and it will continue to exist long after we are gone. Now, I do say mostly a self-sustaining closed system, and some of you may be sitting at home watching this thinking, wait, there is something that we get from outside of our planet, outside of our atmosphere that we require for life, and that is true. The one external input that we do rely on for life on Earth is sunlight, and it is a very important external input. Sunlight basically drives all the processes that occur on our planet, and obviously it comes from the outside, it comes from the sun. So as we go ahead in the next few chapters and talk about the biogeochemical cycles that occur on our planet and all the important things that happen that allow life on Earth to occur, you will note that sunlight is absolutely required for all those things. And that's why we are not a truly closed system. But the thing that I do need everyone to agree on is that the resources that we have on this planet, in terms of water resources, land resources, raw materials, all of those things have to come from here. They have to come from this planet. At least at this point, we don't have the technology to go elsewhere for raw materials. So we are limited by what we have available to us. The other thing I need you to all agree on is that our Earth is probably irreplaceable. This is known as the rare Earth hypothesis. The rare Earth hypothesis states that the Earth is unique for a variety of reasons that lead to its ability to sustain life as we know it. Some of those reasons are things like our distance from our sun and our position in our universe, the size of the Earth relative to the size of our moon, the chemical composition of our atmosphere and our planet. And all of those things make our planet very unique. It is unlikely that we will find another planet just like ours that we could up and move to if something happens to this one. It's true that people are talking about colonizing Mars and all of those things, but it would not be like life on Earth as we know it. So those are the two things I need everyone to agree to before we dive into the rest of the material in this class. I need you to understand that all we have to work with is what we have here on our planet, and that this is probably the only planet that we have to work with. And then from there going forward, we can agree to disagree on some topics. Some of you may think that the raw materials we have available to us on Earth are plentiful and that we don't need to worry about running out. Some of you may think that we are in critical shortage of materials on our planet. And we're going to talk about how some of those things are true. And some things are in worse shape than others, and we'll get a chance to look into all that over the course of the next 14 weeks. Now, when I use the phrase environmental issues, a lot of different things come to mind for different people. In this course, they're generally going to refer to human impacts. So there's a lot happening in our environment that humans aren't involved in. But when we talk about an environmental issues course or an Our Changing Planet course, we're talking about how humans are changing the planet. Some examples of things that human activity has caused on our planet: pollution of air, soil, and water; desertification, which means a loss of land that's able to produce food crops that we're able to grow things on; destruction of ecosystems; loss of species; change in our climate; reduction in our ozone layer; depletion of our natural resources; and many other things. I'm going to try to touch on as many of these as possible this semester, but when you're looking over this list, if there's something specific that is of interest to you, feel free to pop me a message. Let me know. I'm going to have a discussion board up for general comments where you would be welcome to post things like that as well. And I will do my best to include at least a little bit of information on anything you're interested in if I wasn't previously planning to include it. I have a short video that I would like you guys to watch now. Not all of the information in this video is related to the environment, but I think it gives a good and interesting message. The video is called Lost Generation. It was produced by a young man named Jonathan Reed as part of the AARP video challenge that was held in 2007. The goal of the challenge was for people to submit videos that they felt reflected society's views of their generation, as well as sort of the reality of their generation. And I think he did a great job. He actually got second place in the competition with this video. I'm going to play it for you, and then we'll talk a little bit about it afterwards.
I am part of a lost generation, and I refuse to believe that I can change the world. I realize this may be a shock, but happiness comes from within is a lie, and money will make me happy. So in 30 years, I will tell my children they are not the most important thing in my life. My employer will know that I have my priorities straight because work is more important than family. I tell you this, once upon a time, families stayed together. But this will not be true in my era. This is a quick fix society. Experts tell me 30 years from now, I will be celebrating the 10th anniversary of my divorce. I do not concede that I will live in a country of my own making. In the future, environmental destruction will be the norm. No longer can it be said that my peers and I care about this earth. It will be evident that my generation is apathetic and lethargic. It is foolish to presume that there is hope. And all of this will come true unless we choose to reverse it. There is hope. It is foolish to presume that my generation is apathetic and lethargic. It will be evident that my peers and I care about this earth. No longer can it be said that environmental destruction will be the norm. In the future, I will live in a country of my own making. I do not concede that 30 years from now, I will be celebrating the 10th anniversary of my divorce. Experts tell me this is a quick fix society, but this will not be true in my era. Families stayed together once upon a time. I tell you this, family is more important than work. I have my priorities straight because my employer will know that they are not the most important thing in my life. So in 30 years, I will tell my children, money will make me happy is a lie, and true happiness comes from within. I realize this may be a shock, but I can change the world, and I refuse to believe that I am part of a lost generation.
Okay, so like I said, it's not all about the environment, but I think it's a very unique perspective on the idea that all we have to do on so many issues is change the way we look at them, just shift our thinking, and it can completely change our perspective, just like they did in the video by Jonathan Reed. I think with environmentalism, a lot of people think that the action of one individual can't make a difference. And so why should they make a change in their life if it's not going to make a difference to the greater problem anyway? For example, why would you take the time to recycle your water bottle when so many people don't? Or why do you turn off the light when you leave the room when that can't really make a significant difference in our energy consumption? And whenever we discuss this, I like to use the metaphor of the grasshopper and the train track. If you think about a train, I want you all to close your eyes and envision a train traveling down a track, and one of those high-speed, fancy commuter trains. And as the train is traveling along, there's a grasshopper on the track. When the train hits that grasshopper, poor grasshopper, right? Nobody on that train is going to feel any difference from that train hitting that one grasshopper. But now imagine that we put 100 grasshoppers in the same spot on the track. Honestly, they're still probably not going to feel a big difference. They're not going to slow the train. You're not going to feel a bump. They're so small compared to the train. But imagine that we put 1 million grasshoppers in the same spot on the train tracks. 1 million grasshoppers, even though each one is so small, may still slow or even stop the train. People on the train are going to feel that they've hit something. And it just goes to show that individual action does make a difference, because each of those individual grasshoppers contributed to the total, just like each individual person can contribute to making change, not just in environmental issues, but in any issues that you're wanting to make a difference in. You have to change your perspective and stop thinking of it as being something that's too big for us to address as individuals, and start thinking about how we can get more people to come together and each take individual action. Hopefully, over the course of the next 14 weeks, I'm going to be able to convey that to you as it relates to environmental issues. I did want to talk briefly about the introduction assignment, which is your first assignment in this course. I want you to introduce yourself to me. Normally, I have this submitted as a written assignment, but because this is an online course, I want to try to encourage us to develop this into a community as soon as possible. So instead of introducing yourself to me privately, you're going to submit a short introduction of yourself to the discussion board that I've set up in the introduction folder under course modules. I've already introduced myself, so you can read mine over as an example, but I do want you to include certain things in your introduction. I want to make sure you've included your background in science or biology, just a brief statement of how many science classes have you taken, when did you last take a science class, also maybe your feelings towards science, if this is something you enjoy or don't. Just a statement about why you're taking this class, what requirement it fills for you, what most interests you about the course, and any concerns you may have about this course as we move forward. You can also tell me a little bit about yourself personally. You'll see that I've given you a little bit of information about my life outside of school in mine. And then make sure that that assignment is submitted not later than midnight on Sunday night, which would be this next Sunday, September 6th. As a rule, all of our assignments are going to be due midnight on Sunday night following the week that they're assigned. And you can see more information on that in our syllabus if you'd like to read over that syllabus and take a look at that. So that's pretty much all that I have to share with you right now. I'm going to stop screen sharing and go back to you looking at me. Hold on one second. Okay, there we go. So hopefully that's given you a little bit of a peek at what we're going to be talking about over the next 14 weeks in this class. Once you've completed your introduction assignment, you can move on to the next video lecture, which is the first ecology lecture in Module 1. Thanks.